Are you a cannabis grower who knows what they're doing? Are you looking for a one-stop shop for all things cannabis lighting? Then check out DutchLightingInnovations.com. On our website, you can learn more about our newest UV technology, which allows us to grow stronger, even better terpene profiles while reducing microbial growth. DutchLightingInnovations.com has all your lighting needs, from HPS to CMH to LED and UV. Lights of the highest quality for growers who know what they're doing. Designed, engineered, and made in Holland. Your one-stop shop for all things cannabis, DutchLightingInnovations.com. You can learn more about our newest UV technology. At DLI, we have decades in experience in both commercial and hobby horticulture. As a result, our engineers have developed a brand new range of horticultural lighting products that combine with the tried and tested manufacturing techniques of the existing commercial lighting products with a modern manufacturing process. As a result, we've created a comprehensive line of horticultural lighting products that are designed to enhance the user experience and produce better results. That's DutchLightingInnovations.com.
Shackles that you to memories, forever haunting me. But I've never felt so alive, and I this time won't be face down in the middle, and I this time when the sky is falling, it's calling out of your name, and I'll be your saving grace.
Here he is. Here's my man, Robar. Rob, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Like, yo, it's Rob. We were talking, quite a bit since we officially met. But you're one of those people who, the presence is always known at these events. It's not just like you can tell from the energy. You know what I'm saying? You're like, this is a very giving person with a good background. Like, cool. And then like, once you meet that person, you're like, oh shit. Okay, I get it now. So for people who don't understand what I just said, go ahead and tell the people what it is that you do.
Well, I own Helping Her Run the Hemp Company. Started here about 4 or 5 years ago, starting as a salve, a topical company as a whole, just again to treat myself and my own issues. I kind of spent a lot of time within the cannabis scene, developing relationships and different things through my caregiver and at, different points, just kind of experiencing,
mentorships that we need to learn to pass on more.
Struggle with a lot of things who have great potential, but sometimes even myself was somebody who didn't see those things.
Right.
And then once you see them, you're like, oh, okay. There is an avenue for us. There is something for us in all of this, regardless of the issues that we might have.
I feel that, dude. I do. Like, it's okay. So to further illustrate my point and to prove that, I can relate to that. It's a struggle, man. It's a struggle to drop one's career and move on to something else, regardless of what it is, especially when you're my age. But when you're moving on to basically the same career, just a different, I want to say additive at this point, there's some competition. There's competition in all life. At the same time, I don't think that competition is necessary at this point. You understand? Like, I don't think that competition is really ever necessary in the realm of what I'm doing. There's room at the top. What people don't understand is, okay, go ahead and compete amongst yourselves. I'm gonna remain consistent, because consistency is the key, and I'll see you at the end game. Y'all ain't even thought about an end game. You know what I'm saying? You're arguing amongst yourselves. You're doing it wrong. Okay. What I'm telling you is, why are we fighting each other now when we're all going to be needed in the end? You understand? So you just got to make it there. You can't do that. Tripping and killing it over the dead bodies you leave in the wake.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not trying to be cryptic or anything, but, that's the truth of it, and that's the problem. Like, I tell people, lashing out is like firing a gun. You can't bring the bullet back, and people are like, I was like, but it's real. You ever fired a gun? Everyone's fired a gun. Toy gun, it doesn't matter. You understand that you pull the trigger mechanism, the anger.
Something happens.
Exactly. That's the point. All right. There is a point of regret when you kill things, when you hunt a little bit, but it's to further, to eat. You hunt to harvest. You use every part of that, and that's the point. A lot of people do the sport thing, and I can't digest that. You understand? Like, I can't. That's not okay with me. But dude, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. Seriously, man. Like, I knew that you were going to be a person that I had to meet myself. You understand? I had to be like, hey man, what's up? And things of that nature. And I think that I'm very glad that I did. One thing I did want to talk about before we get into the to the 5 dubs, man. I was at Jamie Cooper's Cantina, and I picked up the hemp flower cookbook, man. Okay, I want to kind of give you my thoughts if you're cool with that, and like the feedback. Sure. I see that it was written by Amy Hogan. I've now become familiar with her work, and it's okay. I didn't judge it. I wasn't like, this is garbage. There are a few questions and stuff like that, but at the same time, it's like,
I can see why you were, it's just the wording is weird. You know what I mean?
Sure. A lot of it, yeah.
And so it's like, I had to think about it. There are a few arguments in here, but there's gonna be until we have solid, tenacious proof, or not tenacious proof, but, unadulterated proof that, about decarboxylation and things of that nature. That's not the only way you could do it, but that's, I see why you picked it. Just small nuances. Overall, though, I love this, and here's why. On each little recipe, y'all, okay, they give you a strain, and then they give you the recipe, and they give you a picture of kind of like the outcome. You know what I'm saying? So they give you the title, obviously. So then they have the strain, and they have the outcome, and the rest. It's on point. It's straight to the point. I hate long ass recipes. Oh, I hate them like that because I had to write them, handwrite them, and then we had to type them, and then we had to. I don't want to do that shit anymore. But the point is, it's like, and it's just chock full. I mean, dessert's heavy, obviously, but at the same time, I get it. You got sour space, no bake, sour space goo balls. Yes.
A lot of it was trying to cover all the bases of like an edible type of thing versus just being sweets. And, could we cover something savory, cover something that's more, like the macaroni and cheese thing,
the Bruce Banner macaroni and cheese.
Just different take on something,
Listen, okay. Hang on. I'm glad you called it the creamy baked macaroni and cheese and not the Bruce Banner macaroni and cheese. Because if I think about Bruce Banner macaroni and cheese, my mind all automatically goes to lactose intolerance and how they're not going to have fun on the business end of that gun. You understand? That's what I'm saying. So I was like, well, wait a minute. I don't want to take no Hulk size shit. I'm not cool with that. Then I read creamy baked and I was like, that made it even more disgusting. But then I was like, that actually looks pretty good. Now I'm good with it. I do have to ask though, who in the hell garnishes pasta with basil? I want to know that. Like, I'm going to try it. I've never seen that. That's all I'm saying. I would have garnished it with a hemp leaf, honestly. Seriously, if you're in a hemp book and you got hemp leaves all over, why wouldn't you? But that's neither here nor there.
A lot of it, when it comes to those types of things, a lot of it is what art can I find?
Yeah, I feel you. But no, I get it.
It's representative of what we're actually trying to do without actually taking exact photos of that actual thing.
No, I feel that, man. I feel that. I was just giving you a hard time. Silver Haze spiced hot chocolate. That looks pretty legit. I definitely, it's this shit that I would want to try. You know what I'm saying? Like Traverse City Cherry, Michigan Rocks cookies. Yes, I would definitely try that. That and nice glass of milk or that hot chocolate boy. Yeah. Now this one is Lifter lemon bars. Now, Lifter is the name of the strain here. Okay, cool. I wonder if there's like a super lemon haze strain of CBD. I'm sure there is that you can use in place of this.
There could have been. A lot of it is again based around the ideas of that we kind of had at the time and. Kind of hinging on different tastes and trying to find a good combination of things. Again, not to just be like, straight gummies or straight whatever. In the end, like the dog treat idea was really, all the ideas are really to be able to produce, how can somebody do something easily on their own? And you can decarb, but then we also have oil that's ready to go. And that's really, I would think most people would rather just do that. However, I think a lot of the flavors and things like that were a unique way to talk about hemp flower in a way that isn't so standard.
Correct. And the one thing, you can read the whole cookbook. It's not very big, but it's a general basis and introduction to, and then you play from it there. If you know, then you know. That's all I'm going to say. If you know how to administer these two kind of methods, if you will, then it's going to be work out pretty well for you in the end. And you'll be able to play with other recipes and stuff too. But understanding hemp terpenes and potential uses. Now that is what fucking sold me. End of story. Because you're like, all right, listen, there's more terpenes here on this page than I've ever heard of. No bullshit. Okay. Sure. And I look, you know what I'm saying? And so I understand, I'm pinene, myrcene, terpolline, they're hard to say. People made that shit up. Yeah, right. Limonene, there's a few on here that I think that are THC, but at the same time, all terpenes matter. That's, sure. That should be a shirt. All terps matter. I'm sorry. That's a good shirt. You know what I mean? Because if you know, and that's the point, because if you're able to use and heal from these terpenes, which is the way that the ECS works, that's the point. I've had a lot of pre-rolls out there. Not going to lie to you. The pre-roll game is strong. That being said, I've had your pre-rolls. Okay, they're everywhere. I love them. They're amazing. I got the Sensi bag, back when Jamie Cooper released those to cannabis influencers and cannabis, business people and things of the nature. And one of your pre-rolls was in there. Mm-hmm. And I remember, and I'm going to be honest with you, I picked it up and I was like, what the fuck is this kid talking about? You know what? Who is this shit? What is this? I was like, okay, this is going to be terrible. Popped it. All right. And then I smelled it. And I'll eat my fucking words right now. I was like, hang on. We're driving down the road. And I'm like, I'm smoking it right now. It's CBD. This is a CBD joint. We can't get in trouble. This is fine. You know what I'm saying? Plus, I'm smoking it. You ain't. And she goes, give me some. No. I'm not even going to risk it. It's CBD. So eventually I did, but that's fine. We were 5 minutes from the house. By the time she took 2 puffs, we were in the driveway. So it was all right. But, I just couldn't wait till we got home, type of thing. Sure. And it was good, man. I felt good, and it didn't burn black. It was nice, solid, good ash, and that's my point. It's a good product all around. So, and I've already apologized for this, you know what I mean? But the point is, like, don't judge a book by its cover. Let's kind of turn the pages, read some shit first, learn something. You know what I mean?
A lot of it, we get a lot of that with the pre-rolls and, in the cannabis space as a whole, just because, it's hemp. But then really sourcing the right stuff, making it good and clean, making sure, again, all of our flower passes all Michigan standards for testing.
Which is scrutinized beyond belief, but yes. And
honestly, a lot of it it's amazing to me that it all does, honestly, because it's outdoors crops, a lot of it's indoor. But again, prices affect all that. But then just having people have an option, I see how much is being sold within the normal dispensary market now. And I think a lot of it is really because nobody's addressing the minor cannabinoids or Correct. Supplementing their lives with, CBD, which again is in the form of hemp flower, but it's the most effective way to be able to cost-effective way to be able to do it.
Yep.
As far as all the cannabinoids go,
that's
what we're seeing so many places, upselling, if you say, having people understand that, sure, you're buying this 20-some% THC weed, but have you ever thought about this?
Well, in their defense, though, that's all they had. Does that make sense?
Sure. No, it's 100%. And that's kind of what's happening. And that's what you see happening throughout the market is, why are we successful? Why are we doing whatever? Is really helping fill that void between what's happening in the space of THC, to the other minor cannabinoids. It's just, it's something we've tried really hard at doing for the last 4 or 5 years, especially within Michigan, expanding our reach to nationally, being in 1,500 stores nationwide for people to be able to experience these different things nationally, even beyond Michigan. Michigan, we definitely have a pathway to, move into the THC space, but our focus will always be on minor cannabinoids.
Absolutely. And, to further accelerate that, to kind of go down another avenue of possibility. All right, so in order to discover these cannabinoids, we need to isolate them away from the actual plant itself. Okay, cool. We can do that. That's what we're saying. We're learning more and more about the plant. THCV bonds 30 times faster. We wouldn't have been able to do that without isolating it further and things of that nature. This didn't exist because it was illegal for so many years and blah, blah, blah. Moving on from all of that, okay? That this void that we know really nothing about. In addition to being able to build a foundation of healing and better health for all, in this case, with these minor cannabinoids, it's that instead of the entourage effect, it's the ensemble. It's all of the instruments, that were and that they've all play their role. That's the point. They create that symphony, of cannabinoids in your system, which is why it's called the ensemble effect. That being said, I see cannabis going a specific way, but if we want to medicinally use it, we want to medicinally understand it, and I see exactly what people are like trying to do. And I also like it you can't call out the people that are wrong, you know what I'm saying? Because unfortunately, like, they don't want to ever admit that they're wrong. They're like, no, man, I learned it on a Facebook meme. It's true. Okay, hang on. You know what I mean? Let's talk about your life choices. But I think that, like, as long as people like you and I remain consistent in what we do, you know what I'm saying, and true to our word, and listen, if I tell you there's going to be, something going, it's going to happen. If that's the point. There's none of that these days, and that is rare. That fealty, that kind of like honor a little bit. It was like, listen, I understand that I told you this. It's out of my hands. If it didn't work, it didn't work. The universe did not want you to have it, apparently. You know what I mean? Or something. But it is what it is. But positivity, y'all. That's the point. Okay, positivity. If you come at me with some negative shit, chances are I'm not gonna pay attention to it. You know what I'm saying? You come at me with something positive, yo, I'm gonna tell everyone. Like that's the case of it, and that's why I really appreciate people like you, man. You know, I appreciate. I call it like a sigh of relief. You know what I mean? Going, fucking finally, somebody sees it the same way. You know, and I can't say that. You know, I can't
feel that way as a whole, in general, in life. You know what I mean? Somebody said to me the other day, he goes, you know, I would never say the things that you say on Facebook. And I'm like, I'm personally at the point in my life where if I don't talk about certain things, that I don't feel people benefit, and I'm done. But a lot of it also is I have a trueness to myself that if I don't talk about these things, that I'm not doing my own self, you know.
I feel whatever that, man. I feel that.
I need to talk about with other people. And it's been a sole thing of my life for probably the last 4 or 5 years since I started the company, is, you know, why I even started all of it was
2017, right?
Yeah, and that's actually when we incorporated, but really about 2 years before that. So, and it's, you know, the idea came along well before. It was just, again, it was never about anything other than how do I treat myself? And then people started to ask me about it. And it was like, okay, you know, and I'll always help anybody that ever asks for help. My Facebook, you know, my messenger thing has constantly been for the last 4 or 5 years, you know, various people just asking questions, and, you know, people who from like past, like high school or whatever, who I haven't talked to in years, who I haven't done whatever, but I feel this great thing of like, sure, let's talk about it, because when I'm able to help somebody in the end, it makes all the difference in the world. Even, you know, I mean, it's what drives me as a whole. Honestly. Oh
yeah, you know, and speaking of your past, that reminds me of the first dub. That's why I was like, oh shit, we got to do that. Dabs before the show, right?
Yeah.
But before we do that, man, I'm gonna take a real quick commercial break. Y'all, resrid.com, clean your pieces. It's not even a question. There's so much going on with like upper respiratory infections. We still got this Delta variant. I'm not saying that it'll save you, but I'm not saying it won't. Whatever your view is your view, okay? At the same time, we can all agree smoking from dirty pieces is nasty and gross. Don't do it. Here's Resrid, y'all, clean your pieces. I feel like, because there's like a little Iron Man toy right there, I feel like that when I dance in the commercials, he's silently judging me. Psychosomatic is not, you know, this is the first dub. The first dub is all about your past, man, like kind of like the first time you ever got high, or like the first time you ever smoked weed. Apparently those are 2 different times for some people. That's cool, but it's not about them, it's about you. So, Rob, tell me, when was the first time you ever smoked weed?
Honestly, it was probably about high school sometime, freshman year.
Okay.
One of those things about me is that I didn't really engage with it much at the beginning. Like, I smoked, and it was one of those things that was like a couple of friends in high school. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I mean, but I didn't really feel anything.
Right.
And then it really wasn't much later until I was in college that something happened that I was came upon somebody who was trying to break into my car. That person pretty much dropped me, kicked me in the head about 12, 14 times, led to concussion issues. Something that I didn't really place together until much later in life. It was kind of at the time that people were starting to talk about CBD and starting to talk about CTE and all these different things.
Right.
It was like all of a sudden it all kind of connected.
Right.
And it was like, why do I feel certain ways at certain times? Why do I, you know, and a lot of it was these concussion issues. It's led to a lot of different things I have with neuropathy throughout my body. That was from my back issues, things like that. Right. And that's where I started to say, well, wait a minute here. You know, maybe these things aren't what I think. You know, I had these roommates who were smoking, and it was like, they weren't idiots. They weren't stupid. They weren't whatever. It was like
getting shit done. They were making moves you didn't even know about.
You know, it was just, you know, thinking about it, it's like, oh shit, here we are, you know, way back when. This is 1990-ish.
Dating yourself.
No, I'm old as fuck.
Kid and play days. What are you talking about? I
just turned 53, so.
Happy belated birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you. That was like all of a sudden I'm faced with, why the everything is out of control, like spinning and just gross. And then when I would, again, the first time I smoked and it stopped that.
Right.
I was like, wow, I'm sold. Because again, it was more natural. It was more, you know, part of the, you know, the earth really as essential.
Right. If it comes from the ground, it's probably okay. You know?
Yeah. So that was
Harold Remus. Right. And so I look at it this way. So I think you would agree to this. So CBD is for what you don't want to feel. THC is for what you want to experience.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, a lot of it is A lot of times people are getting to understand that CBD is something that, isn't necessarily something you feel instantaneously, but if you take it every single day, your body builds it up.
Yep.
It's a supplement.
Oh, absolutely.
And understanding that is really probably the biggest thing. I guess THC is more instantaneous, that your body feels it, understand it.
If we're going to talk about latency real quick, let's you said instantaneous, and I want to snag on that real quick. So instantaneous, that's not really fair to say, because hang on a second. Anything's inhalation is instantaneous, basically, if you think about it. However, you and I've had many discussions on terp temperatures and things of that nature, and you know where I stand, and we're saying the same thing. Lighting up a pre-roll or a joint, it doesn't really matter. There's only so many cannabinoids you can get from that. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel that smoking a joint is medicinal, but it can't hurt at the same time. You understand? I think that you said instantaneous. You're absolutely right, and that's completely true on a matter of inhalation methods. We're talking about this now, this nano technology where the onset latency is 7 minutes now versus 15 to 30. You know what I'm saying? Just imagine the possibilities for like a pain cream or something like that, dog. You know what I'm saying? Now, if we took that nanotechnology and put it into a pain cream, wouldn't that in theory lower the latency to like half the time so people could heal faster?
I would assume so. As a whole, I think there's a lot happening with a lot of that. The nanotechnology as a whole, is relatively recent. It's a lot of things that are happening on that level. I haven't seen a ton of research done on topical based things with nano, but it should be, anytime you can increase the amount of bioavailability.
Oh, 100%.
I think within the skin topic goes, it's there's the whole absorption rate of things enter into all of it.
Absolutely.
So I think, I would love to see more happen with, again, I'm hugely into topicals. That's how we started the company.
Right.
I see a lot of things happening with different types of topicals because people are always asking me, do you have something different than a salve?
Right.
And it's like, well, it's odd just because, I kind of developed the salve originally for a specific.
Right. I mean, it sounds like you come from a caregiver background. You made this to help yourself, to kind of help other people. And people love it, whether they want tinctures or not, or, Delta 8 gummies now, or, it doesn't matter. Speaking of Delta 8, my man, I heard that you may have talked to NPR about this one. Is that true?
Yes, I was on a thing last night with an interview with NPR. I've been interviewed in the past regarding Delta 8 within Michigan, but they didn't run the story. A lot of it was the different shifting of them trying to understand what the story was really about. Now that there's an end result in Michigan making a statement, I think that now is a time that just simply to talk about it more. And really what it was just simply, how does it affect us as a company and somebody who's doing this in the legal hemp market? And it has affected us. There's no way around it. So
lay it out for people right now that don't understand said laws or whatever. Delta 8, state of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, what happened?
Well, right now it's been passed that this Delta 8 within the state of Michigan has to be, after October 11th, be moved underneath the MRA guidelines or any licensed, cannabis activities. Beyond that, it's just, I don't know. We are faced with October 11th deadline now to be able to sell any products that we currently have in thing. Luckily, we haven't been really spending a ton beyond that. We've been kind of knowing this is on the table. It sucks, honestly, because having the conversation about whether or not something is safe, whether or not something is whatever, because as a company, we've done nothing but try to make sure that all of this passes, all the safety things, all the different levels of scrutiny that might be applied upon us.
Hang on. Let me help you here. Okay. First and foremost, it's just another attack on the plant and a chance to monopolize. Let me tell you why. So what's actually happening is this, They're trying to scrutinize one specific cannabinoid that is isolated away from this plant. Now, mind you, it's still from the same plant that, aspirin kills more people a year than this does. Oxygen kills so many others. There's none. The equivalent to people dying of cannabis use or consumption is equivalent to that of people that have been impaled by unicorns. If you said divide by 0, I love you. The point is, it's 0. Okay. Delta 8. I haven't heard anything about any Delta 8 deaths or Delta 8 killed this person or Delta 8 da 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 da. The only thing that I've heard from about that's negative in the cannabis space, period, is cannabis hyperemesis syndrome. Now, that's a whole different, issue itself. If you want to attack us for having one issue itself that has to do with a few people doing a bad thing, then I'm going to point you to, I don't know, whiskey. Let's talk about that. That can actually kill you. Sclerosis of the liver. Are you kidding me? Kidneys shut down. Are you kidding me? Okay? Your body starts to literally decay from the inside out. That sounds disgusting. Okay, if that's not really your swill, then we'll move on to smoking cigarettes. Are you kidding me? And yet they're still allowing these things to be sold because of this and because of that with no regulations like Delta 8 here. I'm sorry, Delta 8 has been around for quite a few years now. It's rolling out. And other states are deeming it illegal and stuff. How? It's just another cannabinoid. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there are some side effects if you overdo it, but a person's personal consumption shouldn't reflect the laws. You understand? Because it doesn't do it in cigarettes and it doesn't do it in booze. So why are you going to regulate it here? That is my question.
A lot of, honestly, when it comes to a specific thing, and this is a little bit of free balling,
right?
But when it comes down to, I happen to work in the e-cigarette industry as well, designing packaging and things like that. When it comes to that whole thing of the e-liquid industry and whether or not it's, how it's regulated, how it's done, whatever, it's, a lot of it is based on exactly everything you just said. There is no science around any of it, and harm reduction is a thing. And the fact that anybody can't realize that there's something is 98% safer.
Right.
That's just e-liquid. I'm just saying. So it's like you're already showing the pathways of different things.
Well, what it is in the e-liquid market, the cartridge market and stuff like that, it's the whole vitamin E, I think, or whatever it was that people were in, and it was killing. That's a whole different story.
Well, there is. And honestly, if you really look at some of those things, it could have been other things in vitamin E.
An isolated event that you heard about. You know what I mean?
A lot of it is that. And we want to feed different things based around fears. And I get it. I have kids. We all have kids,
Right.
Whatever.
Never saw that one happen, didn't you? I'll be honest with you. You're like, no. How? Okay.
Nobody wants to,
right.
But it's just, a lot of these pathways are not really deemed really in this thing of safety. That's just my own
right.
purpose.
Listen, there's so much other bullshit that the government should be focusing on right now instead of trying to break down, cannabinoids and argument over this. And they're like, well, we have to deal it because you brought it to our desk. No, they brought it to your desk and a chance to monopolize off of it. They're starting with this one and they're going to move to that one. And they're going to move to that. No, come on.
And Michigan has already laid groundworks for that. Any future one can't happen.
Right.
That's what the wording is. That's what it says. That's, it's leading to pathways of things like Delta 10, which is already existing, which is already used, THCP, THCP, all these different things. They've already laid the groundwork for not being able to do unless you go through their pathway.
And that's the plus side of this. And that's what I was trying to tell people. It's not a bad thing. Hang on a second. You understand? Because listen, regardless of what was passed or what wasn't, how it does suck and how it doesn't, it's kind of like, okay, we can work with this. We can work with this. It sucks for some people, a lot of people, but at the same time, it does take the bullshit swill out of the gas stations, if you feel me. You know what I'm saying? So that I agree with that. All right. It lessens the availability of an anomaly happening down the road. You feel me? Like the vitamin E shit? No, that's not happening again. You understand? And so I appreciate that. Okay. However, we're gonna change. That's gonna change. Pretty quick. That's my point. But you got to lay like you said, the foundations in order to kind of build from that. And I agree with that. So I want to know, more of it, man, really. And so here we are at the second dub of the show. I finally got to it. The second dub is all about your favorite ways to consume cannabis, kind of when, where, and why, man. But before we get to the second dub, we're going to talk to our friends at Hempful Farms, y'all. Yo, Hempful Farms is popping off right now with some huge moves out of the culinary scene in Arizona. I hope to go see them sometime very soon, but until I do, y'all, Hempful Farms, check it out. Yeah, I don't see this, but I saw my man dip away. He was like, I gotta get this real quick. I gotta get this dab in. I saw that. Smooth criminal right there. But yo, hempfulfarms.com, y'all. Chris and Andy are out there kicking ass. They're just absolutely killing it. I can tell you this though, their green crack that they had for dabs was absolute fire. That shit was good. I love dabbing CBD. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's so good. And yo, celebrate it, you know? But anyways, we're at the favorite dubs, man. Yo, it gets you use cannabis, you know, we kind of understand the salve, you know, the dabbing and things of that nature, but kind of lay it out for us, man. Like, you know, set the stage. Why do you use cannabis and like how often?
Why is pretty much to stay on top of my issues, which are mostly what we talked about before, neuropathy and things like that. Some various pain issues. How I usually consume as a whole, I mostly dab, mostly because I prefer that whole quick kind of more instantaneous type thing, as I mentioned before.
Right.
And a lot of it is, you know, but I still prefer to smoke at least one pretty decent sized joint a day, because I believe flower brings us a lot more of those different cannabinoids and different types of things that maybe concentrates get a little bit, you know, more blasted out on.
Fair enough. I mean, I look at it this way. So it depends on how it's created. You know, there's the temperature gauges for all of the terpenes and stuff like that. So, I mean, it all does come down to how it's administered and how it was created. You know,
and I mean those types of things.
Cold starts.
You know, people will bitch on the Puffco, but I love it. Well, you know, and again, some of that is really like, you know, being, you know, what are the brands being sold within those places?
Right.
You know, and it's really, I'm not going to lie, there's been a point where we're at the point where, you know, some of the distributors want to bring us into those places. And it's like, if you can be a brand that's good within that market, then maybe you're changing the game within that market. You know what I'm saying? But then it's like the race of the people is what I talk about a lot. People will talk race to the bottom, different things. Yeah. To me, it's, you know, it's a race of the people. Like, how can people experience these things? How can they, you know, encompassing in their lives, yet be effective, yet affordable, yet all these different things that you need to do. Again, as a chronic pain person, I know every single thing I do is based on price.
Right.
You know, and yes, I have, you know, different people you can get things off of, but I do shop in dispensaries. Why? Because I understand what happens within the markets. Right. It's, you know, if I never go into a place, how can I ever even think that my brand would ever be any, you know, how do you engage with people within that aspect? It's like, that's a big part of it to me, is understanding that, you know, I give back to what people give to me.
So exactly. And so it's a mentorship. Like we said earlier, you know, that's the first, it's our giving back. But at the same time, I want people to if you take nothing away, take this away. There exists a white market, and it's called the white market, the legal market, because it's the exact opposite of the black market. It doesn't matter which one came from where. Black market was there first and is never going to go away, but that's not the point. The point is, those two, when given the chance, will literally kill each other. But they both have places in the world. Honestly, one can't exist without the other. Feel me? So that's the point. There needs to be a gray area. Okay. And I'm telling you right now, I exist in that gray area, not in my house. You understand? But at the same time, if someone's acting out, we're going to handle it, and it's going to get handled, period. That's the way that it's going to work. You know, the point is, if you can't accept that there has to be a gray area, otherwise those two will kill each other. Seriously.
Sure.
We know this, and we haven't even actually started yet, and they're already at each other's throats. You know, they're trying to fight at the weigh-in. I mean, come on, man. You know what I mean? Like, I get it, but damn. You know, I would say break a leg, but anyway, so it was terrible. I don't know, man. I don't know what to say about, you know, that fight that just happened. Sucks.
Yeah, you know, as far as like focus of the, you know, a lot of different things right now, is it medical or is it adult use? Is it all these? They all exist. You know, I do feel that some of the medical markets probably are being phased out a bit. You know, that is happening. You know, that's what I see currently.
Oh, absolutely, man. I appreciate that. I had to get that dab in. Oh, that was massive. That was a lot, wasn't it? Oh, shit. I shot halfway across the studio. I'm good with that. I don't even know what this wax is, but a caregiver gave it to me, and she's like, listen, it's good for asthma. I go, okay. Yo, I shit you not. Like, if I do a really big hit, it's going to trigger my shit. But once I'm over that first one, it's all downhill from there. You know what I mean? And that's my point. It's heavy and pinene. Anything heavy and pinene is good for anything, you know, respiratory. Know that. And that's my point, y'all. Like, we got to go back to, smoke this herb or drink tea with these roots and shit. That's what it is.
How things, mentioned in the cookbook, but like a lot of the information's been in some other things that we've produced as well. And it's, understanding terpenes, understanding that as things degrade, that, it can convert from THC to CBN, and that people, if they just jar up their weed for a little while, they're going to create CBN.
That's what happens. The plant's gonna. So here's the thing: does cannabis expire? Yeah. It has an expiration date. Okay. If you put it in honey, not so much. It depends on the medium in which it's allowed. If flower is it's going to continually decay. That's the problem. You can't stop that unless you cryogenically freeze it. And then it's still, it is what it's still a thing, but it does prolong it. That's the point. Cool temperatures, dark rooms, burping them, the whole nine. But yes, eventually you are absolutely correct. CBN, and I would like to point this out, is on the other side of THC. People don't understand that. Okay. Mm-hmm. But it's the truth. Okay.
Meaning, a lot of people really
correct. But that's why when you eat an edible and you pass out, that's why. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't decarboxylated properly. They pushed it past the point of you're catching a tail end of the THC, but a lot of the CBN, and it's knocking you out. Or they did decarboxylate it, but they dosed it heavily, so you're just tripping on the continual THC as your body digests it. You know what I'm saying? What you need is some CBN to go to sleep. That's the thing. That's the point about all of this, and as a chef, I can stand back and tell people you're doing it wrong. You know what I mean? Because you're missing all of this. And they're like, well, what do you mean? And then you show them the temp charts and they're like, well, you made those up. Okay. All right. Do you want to go through and actually start burning off terpenes? Well, yes. Fine. Okay. And then you do that and you're like, see? And they're like, well, it's rigged. What? Come on, man. We just need to stop screaming fake news and start understanding that facts don't really give a shit about your feelings. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's the biggest thing.
When I'm sitting here and I've got a lighter and I've got a terpene, let's say, and I'm holding some, pinings at 270 or something like that. But all right, 270 degree flame, pining, it's gone. Magic. Are you kidding me right now? Seriously, they'll say anything. And so it's just that's the kind of stigma we're trying to break. And then at the end of the day, you ask them, why do you think that it's magic? They're like, because it was illegal. It was illegal once, it'll be illegal again. That doesn't even fucking make sense. Not to mention what you said is illegal. That's called double jeopardy. That you can't do that. That I don't get it, and that's the point. So I think that kind of circling back, to the reason why cannabis, I think that if the federal government does legalize it, there are some pluses and there are some negatives. That's the case. It's going to be the case. I think that one of the pluses is the fact that it's going to be more generalized. It's going to help erase the stigma because it reaches a broader spectrum of people. I hope they do that. If they don't do that, then what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? But it's not about me. It's not about them. It's about you. Okay? At the end of the day, the period at the end of the sentence, to kind of wrap up the second tub and get moving a little bit, why, man? Why do you use cannabis?
Why? It's probably to help me focus and help me deal with the issues of my day-to-day. To be honest with you, it's what's allowed me to grow a company, what's allowed me to not just focus on my own bullshit health issues. We already know this. And then as I sit here, I have, young adults who, kids who are growing up and going away to college, it's they see all this, they see what's going on within the world. Yep. How can you say that this person
I would have loved to see this at their age.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've struggled with it all these years. We've had to hide all these different years about everything that we're talking about.
The war on drugs.
No, it's it's been something that's been a part of all of our lives for literally
it's exposure now.
At least 30 some years of my life.
Right.
More than that, really. But.
Absolutely. And, and nothing, we see it in magazines, now, and magazines kind of brings us to another little ditty that I like to play every now and then. Pigfish Dye Mag, y'all. Pigfishdymag.com. Check it out. I dare you, but pigfishdymag.com, y'all. Pigfish. We're back with my man, Robar. Rob, yo, we've made it to the third dub of the show. I don't know how we did it. I mean, we're getting there. Even if we go over a little bit, we go over a little bit. I don't really care. People enjoy good conversation. Here we are. Third dub, man. This is the crazy dub. This is the time that, we probably shouldn't talk about. It's kind of incriminating and debaucherous at the same time, but we're going to talk about it, and here we go. So, that one time, man, And if you tell me about yours, I'll tell you about one of mine. I got more than one. Chefs do things in an over excess, yeah. But you got that one time, man, you were just way too high. What happened?
I will say probably the only time I probably really ever felt that way was probably on Grateful Dead tour. Back in the old school days, just kind of being, it might not have just been cannabis, to be honest with you. It might have been a combination of the things, but yeah, that's pretty much probably it. I don't really kind of live in my life of, I don't really seek to get high.
Right.
It's all about maintenance to me. It's
okay.
Something that I've always strived for, is just like that even keel kind of thing, the consistency, I guess.
I mean, with pinpoint accuracy, actually, if you think about it, it's you literally are kind of helping, you know what I mean? That's the point of it, right?
Yeah. And it really is just figuring out how, again, it's each person has to figure it out themselves, but
right.
Knowing that if I consume X amount of milligrams of THC in a day, that I can stay on top of these things, I can stay on top of.
Also, THC tolerance breaks are a thing. Okay, that's absolutely a thing. I think that, honestly, to tell you the truth, one of the things that the pharmaceutical companies didn't really agree upon was tolerance breaks are effective. That's what they do when they switch your medication up after a certain while and it stops becoming effective. It's because your body builds up a resistance to it, no matter what it is. That's the amazing power of the body. It's just what happens. It's called evolution, y'all. Don't think Google it. Okay, Google it. Find some big words. Try and attack me for it. We'll have a conversation later, but we're going to smoke weed. Point is, that's the point. Tolerance breaks. Even CBD, you don't really need one because it's kind of, there's no psychoactiveness to it. That doesn't trigger really an anxiety. It's used to cure anxiety, and to supplement additional comfort for people with anxiety. That being said, dude, tolerance breaks are needed, and it sounds like Grateful Dead tour, how long was it? Did you just,
that would probably just be relating to a whole long night of a lot of consumption of probably a few things, you know what I'm saying? But no,
I was one of those CBG joints, I tell you.
Probably at that point, if we would have been a thing back in say 1989, would have been a thing. But yeah, no, back then it was mostly the experimentation phase of shit. I didn't really, again, even just now at that point, really understood that cannabis was helping me health-wise.
Right.
That was really not too far after me discovering that, wow, this changed, how sick I felt from the opiates, how sick I felt from all the different things. And it helped me as much as that. But again, I didn't realize that at that point because,
right.
You're 25 years old or whatever.
Exactly. And your body. So to further touch on our points, okay, with cannabinoids, it doesn't matter what it is, even CBD. Yes, you can fail a urine test with CBD, certain strains of it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. You can. It doesn't mean you will. Point is, so your body doesn't want to let go of that. That's why, you can fail a piss test. You can get hammered on Sunday and then piss clean by Tuesday. People do it. That's why they don't give a shit. They're like, all right, here, if I get an alcohol offense, depending on how bad it is, I'll get probation at the worst. Mm-hmm. People, it doesn't matter. You understand? They don't give a shit, and that's the point. That's the issue. We should be talking about that instead because that is a bigger issue, and it never really was a problem per se because there was the Derek program and then there was teen drinking. You remember that?
Yeah, well, a lot of it is based, I've constantly, for a bunch of years, mm-hmm. talked about how the fact that drug testing only focuses on one group. That's cannabis users.
100%.
In all other drugs are out of your system relatively within 24, 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Most drugs.
Which, by the way, pharmaceutical companies look at that as the perfect product. They don't care about residual effects. It hits you, blasts you, gone.
Oh, yeah. When people are being tested just to make sure that it's in their system.
Right.
Just to make sure that they're not reselling it. Because that's what's happening. That's what people do, because in order to show that you're even consuming it, it has to show up every day. Yet literally the only thing that stays in your system that long is cannabis. That's why it's, to me, always been like drug testing is
it's a threat. You know why it's a threat? Because they look at it, they know the medicinal side of it, because they smoke weed. That cop smokes weed. The cop busting you, taking your weed, going, all right, well, we'll just leave. And you're lucky that I don't arrest you or something and blah, 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 and do some other bullshit, but I'm going to keep your weed. Are you fucking kidding me? Try that shit now. Try that shit now to a medical patient. Oh, just try it. Oh, just try it. Especially when we can always record the police and don't fucking say anything to them, period. No, until they want to change, don't deal with them. That's where I'm at with it. Just as my friends at the Pop Bros at Law would say, shut the fuck up. That's it. Just don't say anything. Stick to the script, But at the same time, there are those police officers that, let's face it, that would have happened, and they would have known that it's not even a big deal, but they would, get their rocks off or meet their quota or whatever you want to illicitly say. The point is, that happened. You know it. It's improbable if it didn't. It's not as astronomical as you think, but it's the reason we're here, okay? The war on drugs, y'all. I love the fact that drugs actually won the war on drugs. And you know why? Consistency. Weed knew, all right, make it illegal. All right, this sucks. All right, da-da-da-da. Years later, who's your daddy now? You know what I'm saying? That's my point. And so, it just sucks that it had to have, a global pandemic for that to happen. That shit sucks. It's terrible. But silver linings, continuing on, as time does, because it never stops. Time continues. Energies continue. Keep moving. We're going to start coloring things green. You know what I mean? That's the point here. Green is healing, y'all. We used to look at what pills or vitamins do I got to take in the morning. I think we should shift that to what cannabinoids do I need. So know what you're healing first. So know what the issues are. Get a proper diagnosis. That does involve a doctor. I'm not going to deny that. They've got their place 100% sure. Within reason. Okay?
Sure.
However, I hope that you have a vast knowledge of what cannabinoids you're ingesting, what they're doing, and how they're helping you. Furthermore, move that on to researching these things. You understand? Logging these things. I think that some people should have a smoke journal. That's not me. Somebody else can do that for me, but I'm not doing it. You know what I'm saying? I'll promote it and follow it. That's fine, but I'm not doing it. That's too much work. Screw that. And the point is, some Americans will do that, as you should. Some people will do that, not just Americans, but as you should. And that's absolutely fine. Cannabis is
in your body is probably the biggest thing, honestly.
Just get it in you. You know what I mean? You kind of have to be. Good dude. He knows who he is. He's probably laughing right now. He won't comment, but I know he's laughing if he's watching it. So I told him, he's like, what do you do for a living? And I told him, and I was like, I'm a cannabis user, all of those questionnaires and shit like that. So, and then he goes, yeah, okay, cool. So then he had to do a blood test, to test some levels of some certain things, because I was just meeting this new doctor, health insurance and blah, 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 right? So I take my blood test. I do the follow-up with him, and he goes, yeah, no, you're a cannabis user, all right. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, that's all I'm saying on that. Now, I don't know what that means, but I want to take that little chuckle out of that's a win right there. You know what I mean? I'm like, but notice, I was like, and please notice, doc, all of my LDLs are pretty decently normal. Stress levels, decently normal. Cholesterol, normal range. I was like, only thing that I'm lacking is vitamin D. Ha, get it? It was a joke. And I was like, notice it's winter though, there's really not any it's just vitamin D. You know what I mean? I think that some doctors are okay with cannabis, as in CBD, but once you hit them with those 3 letters, THC, they're like, I can't touch this. You know what I mean?
Well, they're being prevented from talking about it openly as a whole anyways. Now, a lot of them they'll have the conversation with, but when it comes down, like even the last person who did my recommendation last time,
right?
We'll give you a recommendation. However, we won't sign them with the state official system to make it really easy for you, meaning that you still have to submit something to the thing, meaning that you still like, so where are we really at with that?
Right.
It's like, if I can't, and then I ended up just going to, shout out to Elevation Station because they rule. But, all those different things of like the telemedicine and things like that, all you need to do is have a conversation with somebody about it. And, that's what sucks about the whole conversation of like, are we going to have medical, this, that, or this? It's like,
right.
You really want to have a good relationship with your doctor.
Mm-hmm.
But then your doctor as well will simply say, I can talk about so much,
right,
but I can't talk about all of it. And I can't
right.
really sign. And again, it's just kind of this world that we live in.
I cannot condone.
Yeah, and it's
usually, yep.
The exact same doctor that refused me treatment a couple years later asked my wife if she could have some CBD. So I passed it on and I said, thank you. You know what I did? And then I just gave it to him and I said, I hope, anytime you want to talk.
Yep.
Because I know
Let's
that
have a conversation.
To understand.
I would like to, and this is an open invitation for any medical field people that want to pick this invitation up. I'd like to sit down with an actual doctor that doesn't consume cannabis, and I'd like to, have a conversation with him. But the only thing is they have to, allow me to smoke a joint near them. I'm not going to blow it in their face. I'll do a dab. You know what I'm saying? I need to be able to smoke, and they can enjoy a glass of wine, or a beer. That's fine. I want to have a laid-back conversation with a doctor who does not consume cannabis, because I would like to know they're not condoning cannabis in any way, shape, or form in this. Sure. I would like to know why they cannot, because they can speak on that. You see what I'm saying? Most of them don't. I'm curious. You ain't got to tell us
Honestly,
exactly
a lot of it comes down to what I've been told. A lot of it comes down to their insurances and the people who are underwriting their insurances and their associations they have through specific hospitals.
But you've got a lot of, jobs that are becoming, okay, for example, and that's going to be becoming normalized, because now GM doesn't give a shit if you piss dirty for cannabis. They're like,
and they don't, honestly, most places
don't give a shit. They never did.
Aren't even testing for it now.
No, well, because that and the workforce thing, but at the same time, they see that it's federally, it's coming down the pipeline, not to kind of like kind of step on your toes there, but that's just something I've been excited to say. And like they have now, the news that you're seeing doesn't happen real time for the most part. You understand? And like if you pay attention to things, you're gonna know who knows first. You think that it's a coincidence that GM like a few months ago stopped testing for cannabis, and now Whitmer's pushing this Delta 8 thing, and now the Democrats at Capitol Hill and the nation are now pushing it for it to be legal really, really quick? Sorry, follow that money. That's the point. Follow the money. If you don't follow that back to the original pinpoint, you're never going to know how much came from where it trickled down, the Reaganomics of the situation. I'm not saying Reaganomics works in practice, but it looks good on paper. You understand? And oddly enough, if you lay it down linear, it's the same shit. You see what I'm saying? Just going a different angle. And I don't want to hit people with a perpendicular, thought like that, but it's the truth, and I want to tell people the truth. If you tell me that I have no business talking about this, well, food's politics. How is it not? That's exactly what it is. It's just a different hierarchy. Anything is politics. Military is politics. Politics is politics. You know what I'm saying? Cannabis, sadly enough, is now becoming politics. So the grand takeaway from this is be a free thinker. You understand? Have choice. Know what you're doing. Know what you're trying to cure. Know what you're trying to medicate. Be diligent is really what it is there. If you don't understand what diligent is, Google that shit, do what it says. That's all I'm going to tell you. All right? I'm kidding. There's some people, but I don't, I'm not making fun of my dyslexic folk out there. What up? It's cool. Procrastinators too. All right. That makes sense, man. You kind of just remain consistent in your healing, so you don't really have any crazy, experiences.
No, I don't really. It's just because I've never really been somebody who's been, like, oh, fuck, I need to get ripped.
I'm going to smash this entire brownie.
Literally,
right.
I can consume a lot each day in, like, my highest level of use. I think at one point was on fish tour, and literally I probably consumed, say, roughly about 1,300 milligrams throughout the day of edibles.
Oh, man.
And that was just to keep myself moving. And that was so my feet could walk. That's so I could get out of the venue. That's so I, could enjoy it.
Yep.
And that's how I view a lot of things. It's
so it's funny you should mention that. So honestly, to tell you the truth, triathlon people and stuff, I don't know if they smoke cannabis. They probably do, but their regimen of edibles is probably what the thing is. You understand? Because they don't want that instant burst. They want the instant relaxation. That's different, but they want that turn and burn. They want that, that performance enhancing, if you will.
That's when it almost can't somewhat disagree, because I guess the argument is there if you're dealing with pain and you're whatever.
It's a supplement, correct?
That I couldn't say, but on the other side of that is how can anybody say that? I don't know, because to me it's like that's how I exist.
Right.
It's like, so if somebody needs, I don't like the runner. I suck because I don't remember her name off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's like Sherari. I'm saying butchered.
Yeah, and a lot of it has been so overcapitalized on the whole thing that it's just like, this is a person who, from what all I've read, consumed cannabis after a reporter told her that her mom died.
Yeah.
And if that's, really it, it's like, why are we even having this conversation beyond that? It's like, this person relaxed for 5 minutes and then she had to run, whatever, beyond.
She got it done though.
And that's the key. It's like, every day we wake up and we do whatever. People talk about wake and bake. It's like, well, how is that any different than waking up and taking whatever medication I need to take every single day?
Exactly.
Be it, Vicodin or whatever. Xanax or whatever.
Right. I feel it, man. And it's interesting because she's iconic. And speaking of iconic, females in cannabis, I think that needs to be so much more of that. There's so much more positivity, there's so much more success stories from, very unforgiving times that they had to fight and struggles and things and trauma that they had to go through, 100%. And, I'm all for that. Speaking of all for that, I'm all for this last dub, man. We made it to the last dub. Last dub. This is for all the Cheerios or something on the table that you gamble with, because gambling is also probably evil. But the point is, power to women, man, in cannabis. And speaking of power to women in cannabis, we're going to take a real quick message, to My Canna Merch, y'all. Check it out. My Canna Merch, y'all. Yo, mycannabismerch.com. They're all about female empowerment. I love it, dude. It's just gnarly as shit. They're doing a damn good thing. Speaking of a damn good thing, here we are at the last dub, man. We're killing it. The last dub, Mr. Robar, alive or dead, who would you smoke weed with and why?
Let's see. I've actually in my life had the opportunity to smoke with a few different people that have just been from future, past jobs and things like that. So when I can throw out things like smoking with guys from Rage Against the Machine backstage at St. Andrews, things like that, to me, hanging out with, again, I don't want to name drop any of that shit. But really, who I
want to break no toes
would probably be, I don't know, probably Jerry Garcia.
Oh, I can see why. That's not even a question.
Mostly because I'm a huge deadhead and that whole thing. I've had opportunities to have great conversations with different people over my life. That's one of the things I really find great about my own personal thing is just enlightenment from certain people that, when I spent some time with Timothy Leary for a while, driving him back and forth from Grand Rapids to Big Rapids, it was just an experience of I can't believe I'm driving in a car with Timothy Leary.
Right.
And listening to somebody who's obviously Timothy Leary is his own unique, very human, but to hear insights of somebody saying, listen, very off the cuff, it was wow. And then as I sit back here 53 years later, not that long, but you know what I mean? As I just turned 53,
right,
is wow, a lot of these things that these different people have told me throughout my life has been pretty right on, So I feel fortunate that I've met quite a few different people in a lot of different avenues that, not even cannabis related people, but who would I smoke with? Probably Jerry.
Yeah, no, dude, absolutely. I think that's a very profound reason why. I think that it's very logical. In addition to, I can see the personal endeavors there, the reasons as to why you would smoke with Jerry Garcia. I commend that across the board, and it's got a realty to it, this reality that, let's face it, is dwindling. And I say this because we need to preserve this. We're moving forward in time at an exponential rate, even faster with technologies advancing, social media advancing, and things of that nature. I think that it's definitely good for us to adapt to this, and create this institution, this foundation of how we see ourselves and how we perceive, not only cannabis, but cooking and every other profession and the like and way of life moving forward. Meaning, just because somebody isn't married by 35 doesn't make them a failure. And they might have 2 or 3 kids. It does not make them a failure. It doesn't matter what sex or binary or gender they are. It does not make them a failure. We need to stop, saying this term normalizing. Okay, time out. What is normal? Nothing is really inherently normal. Whatever normal is a perception outside of our own anxiety. That's what we deem normal. If we've always deemed that normal, then how the hell is that? I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to, be a person that I don't want to be a sheep. And I don't use that connotation towards anyone, but I use that connotation towards myself here. I don't want to be dogmatic in my life. That takes choice and free thinking out of it. How are you free? And that's why I ask people, and they're like, oh shit. I'm like, that's why art is a thing. That's why music is liberating. That's why weed is fucking amazing. You know what I mean? And that's the point here, is healing. And a lot of people, there's that stigma. And dude, I can't thank you enough for kind of, paving the way a little bit, man. I was waiting for something like this. When I first kind of came into the scene, let's face it, I've always smoked weed. That's not even, I've always cooked, I've always smoked weed. That's been my life. And when I came into the scene, I started learning about terpenes and just obsessing over this. But you have to understand, this is why. You ready? As a chef, we often look back at what we do and we're like, well, what can I do to change the world? What can I invent this new ingredient or invent this new method or invent this and da-da-da-da-da. So then you will have, Augustus Escoffier. Yeah, get ready. I'm about to name drop. If you know, you know. You'll have Augustus Escoffier, okay? You'll have people like Julia Child, All right, you'll have people like Chef Marco Pierre White, even Gordon Ramsay, Bourdain, okay? You've got all these other chefs that you've got, I can't even think, James Beard Award winners, you know, Danny Espinosa in Chicago. Congratulations. They just had a beautiful, beautiful little baby boy, I think. I could be wrong, but, I think it was a little baby boy. But, dude, congratulations to them. Nevertheless, I miss them, and I want to go back and get some of their tamales. I'm going to tell you that right now. But all of these chefs, all of them, whether they're famous or not, still do this thing where they take a moment in time of flavor that they want to encapsulate, and then they try to make it their own. They put their own spin to it, but they're always searching for ingredients in ways that people aren't doing stuff innovatively. So that, Augustus Escoffier, started writing this shit down basically, and doing, laying out the groundwork to teach this on, and that's where it started, and moving on from that, Julia Child's like, all right, well, we love the French food, we need more of this in America. Some people would be like, she bastardized it, but whatever. She didn't, but other people did. The point is, all of these empirical people that have created institutions along the way to push this forward, cannabis has to be the same. You understand? And it's interesting because as a chef, we all wonder our entire lives, what ingredients can I put in something that's going to make it different from somebody else? Days, next. You know what I'm saying? So I've found a list that continues to grow and grow and grow because we're doing more and more research. So each one of those terpenes, when you mix them together and then you mix them with other things, has a different, I wouldn't say different but similar chemical reaction inside of the body. Your body absorbs them in a different way, and it's like an orchestra. At specific times in the entire symphony, certain ones are going to play higher than others, and then together it all. That symphony is a true symphony of flavor, because flavor itself, flavonoids, also help carry terpenes in addition to the terpenes already found in food that we haven't been talking about this entire time, and nowhere in history have we been talking about it. But we haven't in wine, and so I find it groundbreaking what you're doing. And I can't commend you enough. I find it directly correlating with food, and I think that it's one of the most influential things that we can do. We're going to look back at this conversation, years from now and wonder, without wonder, we're going to know why it happened, but we're going to wonder why it's happening now. I think that Jerry Garcia being, your choice to smoke with, dead or alive, I think that that's brilliant, and I think that it's brilliant because it's not the common answer. It's a common answer. You'll hear, I'm a deadhead, da-da-da-da, but the reasoning behind it, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
That's a whole different thing, man.
I think it's a lot of it,
you know what I'm saying? But again, man, my man Rob Robar, you guys, this has been the Daily Chronicles coming at your faces. Until the next time, you guys stay easy, stay sleazy. Either way, just be breezy. I'm your boy, Chef